Welcome back! This is the second part of the video series for non-Black students of color on the topic of racism and mental health. In the first video, we talked about some really heavy stuff, including race-based stressors and its psychological cost, and how over time, these prolonged stressors could turn into racial trauma, which can be passed down intergenerationally from one generation to the next. As we talked about this, I invite you to pay attention to how your body is responding to the messages you just heard. Do you feel tightness? Do you feel discomfort? The reason why we want to focus on the body's response to trauma is that it starts with the body. We can't heal from racial trauma just by having knowledge. We have to engage what our body is telling us and actually slow down so that we can tend to what we might need in the moment, both physically and emotionally. And this is what self-care is about. I'm sure you all have heard about the term self-care and have some ideas about what that looks like. After all, it's becoming one of the most hashtagable and Instagrammable terms, especially during this pandemic. So, let's do a little bit of experiment here. In the next 10 seconds, list out all of the activities that you associate with self-care. Go! So, what came up for you? A lot of times when I ask students this question, I hear things like meditation, journaling, spending time with loved ones, working out, taking a mental health day, getting your nails done, yoga, or treating yourself to a nice massage. Well, there's nothing wrong with these answers. I think it's important to note that there's more to it. So, what really is self-care? It is about deliberate, ongoing, self-initiated regulatory actions to maintain your different aspects of your well-being, ranging from physical, emotional, social, financial, to spiritual. Simply put, self-care is an intentional effort one engages in to take care of themselves. Self-care is also a continuously evolving process based on your emerging needs. It's not a one-time deal, been there, done that kind of thing. It also looks differently for everyone because we all have different needs. What works for me may not work for you. So it's important to find out what suits you, what helps you relax, what calms or grounds you, so that you are doing what works for you. I would like to take a pause right here to acknowledge that perhaps some of you who are watching this right now may be thinking to yourself, I'm so busy all the time, I don't have time for this. Guess what? You are not alone. Self-care is often perceived as a luxury for someone who is busy all the time. But isn't that exactly why one needs to be intentional about taking care of themselves when you're always on the move, always busy and under stress? In fact, research has shown that prioritizing self-care can help us to be more productive in the long run. So, the next time you think taking time out from your busy schedule to practice self-care is going to hurt your productivity, I encourage you to challenge that assumption and reframe it as a tool to replenish your resources so that you can stay in the game longer. Right. Speaking of assumptions, I also want to address another common barrier to self-care, which is the perception that one is being selfish to take care of their needs. Taking care of yourself is not a selfish act. Only when your needs are met and taken care of, you can show up more effectively in your relationships and for your community. We must replenish ourselves and our own reservoir before we can give effectively to others. If you're a person of color, you're probably feeling a lot of different things with everything that's happening in our world. The global pandemic that affects communities of color disproportionately, police brutality, rise in anti-Asian racism, just to name a few. Take time to acknowledge and validate how you may be feeling. It is understandable to feel angry, sad, scared, and or numb. Let those emotions help guide you towards what you may need to take care of yourself. Are you feeling overwhelmed? Do you feel exhausted trying to convince a friend or a family member about your experience as a person of color? Maybe this is a sign that setting personal boundaries is what you need in this moment. Remember, you are under no obligation to explain your feelings to anyone or engage in difficult conversations if doing so might feel harmful to you. News and social media can be very triggering too. Even though you may feel pulled to stay informed all the time, know that you are also allowed to take breaks as needed from these sources of information. Not every post, tweet, article, or message requires your attention and response right away. A constant intake of negative footage and information can be overwhelming and triggering. Instead of having perpetual flow of information, you can choose to consume the news and social media only during certain designated chunks of time, such as when you're getting ready for the day or taking a break after lunch. Lastly, I want to challenge the notion of self-care being individual-focused wellness activities and space, which has been popularized by the media. Now, think about #clean eating, #healthy living, #self-love, #fitness. It is very easy to fall into the trap of pulling yourself out by your organic patent-leather bootstraps approach to health. While we need to challenge the very Eurocentric view of everything could be solved through individual measures, and recognize that human beings are social beings for a reason. We need to normalize seeking support and comfort from others that you can trust, be it family or friends. Sure, matcha and meditation sounds wonderful, but self-care also means reaching out and staying connected with other people. Earlier, we talked about the importance of reaching out for support when you feel overwhelmed. However, depending on the community you are from, there may be additional barriers to reaching out for help, especially professional help like counseling due to stigma or misconception that asking for help is weak. To the contrary, I propose that acknowledging that one needs help and seeking it are courageous acts. These are signs of strength, not weakness. We want to acknowledge that mental health care is yet another system rooted in white supremacy. Thus, students of color may feel less welcome in therapeutic settings. At the same time, we want to emphasize that the staff at Towson University Counseling Center strongly value meeting the needs of all students. We are thoughtful about including resources specifically designed to provide support to students from all racial or ethnic backgrounds. Members of the LGBTQ+ community, international students, military and veteran students, and students with disabilities. We consider this and other cultural issues when working collaboratively with students to identify the best wellness plan for them. If you think you would benefit from talking to someone to gain some clarity and perspectives, you can call the Counseling Center at 410-704-2512 to set up an appointment with a trained therapist. Thank you for watching part 2 of this video series. Stay tuned for the last episode on how you, a non-Black person of color, can learn to be a better ally to the Black community and ways to